Welcome to Watch the Book. Today we present Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley, published in 1818. The story begins with letters from Captain Robert Walton, an explorer on a perilous voyage to the North Pole, writing to his sister in England. He is filled with romantic ambition and a burning desire for glory. Walton laments his profound loneliness. He has no friend to share in his triumphs or console him in his failures, yearning for a kindred spirit in the vast, icy emptiness of the Arctic. One day, Walton's ship becomes trapped in sea ice. Through the fog, the crew is stunned to see a sledge, drawn by dogs, carrying a being of gigantic stature, racing northwards across the ice before vanishing. The next morning, they find another sledge adrift on an ice floe. Aboard is a European man, near death, his body emaciated by fatigue and suffering. Only one of his dogs remains alive. Before agreeing to be rescued, the stranger asks Walton where his ship is bound. Hearing it is for the North Pole, he consents, his gaze fixed on the horizon as if seeking the one who fled from him. Walton nurses the stranger, who is revealed to be Victor Frankenstein back to health. He sees in Victor the noble, cultivated friend he had longed for, though now a wreck of his former self, broken by misery. Seeing Walton's own unchecked ambition, Victor is moved to share his story as a cautionary tale, hoping to steer the captain away from the same path of ruinous obsession that destroyed his own life. Victor's story begins with his idyllic childhood in Geneva. His parents, Alphonse and Caroline, were benevolent and doting, raising him with patience, charity, and an abundance of love. His parents adopt Elizabeth Lavenza, a beautiful child found living in poverty with a peasant family. She becomes Victor's constant companion, his more than sister, and the balancing spirit of his life. As a boy, Victor's curiosity is insatiable. He desires to learn the secrets of heaven and earth, becoming fascinated with the works of ancient and discredited alchemists like Cornelius Agrippa. At 15, Victor witnesses a violent thunderstorm where lightning obliterates an old oak tree. The event sparks a profound interest in electricity and galvanism, making the works of the old alchemists seem obsolete. At 17, Victor prepares to leave for the University of Ingolstadt. Tragedy strikes when his mother Caroline catches scarlet fever from Elizabeth and dies, her final wish being for Victor and Elizabeth's eventual union. Arriving at Ingolstadt, Victor is belittled by Professor Krempe for his study of alchemy. Disheartened, he nearly gives up on science until he attends a lecture by the kind. M. Waldman's words about modern chemistry's power to penetrate into the recesses of nature reignite Victor's passion. He vows to pioneer a new way and unfold the deepest mysteries of creation. For 2 years, Victor immerses himself in his studies, neglecting friends and family. He becomes particularly obsessed with the principle of life, asking himself from whence it proceeds. To understand life, Victor must first study death. He spends his days and nights in charnel houses and vaults, examining the decay of the human body, his obsession overriding all natural human feelings of disgust. After countless nights of incredible labor, a sudden light breaks upon him. He discovers the cause of generation in life, becoming capable of bestowing animation upon lifeless matter. Consumed by his discovery, Victor resolves to create a human being. To speed his work, he makes the being of a gigantic stature, about 8 feet in height, collecting his materials from dissecting rooms and slaughterhouses. Working in a solitary garret room, his workshop of filthy creation, Victor toils relentlessly. His health deteriorates, his cheek grows pale with study, and he becomes nervous and isolated from all humanity. On a dreary November night, he beholds the accomplishment of his toils. With an anxiety that amounts to agony, he prepares to infuse a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lies at his feet. As the creature's dull yellow eye opens, the beauty of Victor's dream vanishes. Breathless horror and disgust fill his heart at the sight of the wretch he has created, a horrid contrast to the beauty he had selected. Fleeing his apartment in terror, Victor is tormented by nightmares. He awakens to find the monster at his bedside, a grin wrinkling its cheeks. Victor escapes again, seeking refuge in the courtyard below. Wandering the streets of Ingolstadt at dawn, Victor is miraculously met by his childhood friend, Henry Clerval, who has just arrived. The sight of his friend brings him a moment of serene joy. Returning to his apartment, Victor finds the creature has vanished. Overwhelmed not by relief but by a manic terror, he collapses into a fit, which marks the beginning of a long and debilitating nervous fever. For several months, Henry nurses Victor with unbounded attention. Victor raves incessantly about the monster, but Henry, knowing nothing of the truth, believes it to be the wanderings of a disturbed imagination. As spring arrives, Victor recovers, his gloom lifting. He receives a letter from Elizabeth, expressing her worry and sharing news from home, including the story of Justine Moritz, who has returned to their household. Now recovered, Victor introduces Henry to his professors. He feels a violent antipathy to the subject of science, and the praise of M. Waldman feels like torture, reminding him of his hideous creation. To escape his dark thoughts, Victor joins Clerval in studying Oriental languages. He finds consolation in their soothing melancholy, a stark contrast to the heroics of Greek and Roman poetry. Before returning to Geneva, Victor and Henry take a walking tour. The beauty of nature and Clerval's friendship begin to restore Victor, who feels like the same happy creature he was years ago. Upon their return, Victor receives a devastating letter from his father. His youngest brother William, that sweet, gentle child, has been murdered while walking in Plain-Palais. The letter reveals that a treasured miniature of their mother, which William was wearing, is missing, and is believed to be the motive for the horrific crime. The family is plunged into wretchedness. Victor rushes back to Geneva, consumed by grief and fear. As he approaches the city at night, a terrific thunderstorm erupts over the mountains, a dark omen of the horrors to come. Near the very spot where William was murdered, a flash of lightning illuminates a figure of gigantic stature. Victor instantly recognizes the wretch, the filthy demon, to whom he had given life. Convinced that his creation is the murderer, Victor is paralyzed by horror. He watches as the figure scales the near-perpendicular cliffs of Mont Salève with superhuman speed and disappears. Victor resolves to keep his knowledge of the creature a secret, knowing the tale would be seen as the ravings of a madman. He arrives home to find the family in deeper mourning than he could have imagined. He is told that the murderer has been discovered. It is Justine Moritz. The missing locket was found in her pocket, and her confused behavior upon being accused has cemented the suspicion against her. Victor is horrified, knowing Justine is innocent. He proclaims her guiltlessness to his family, but the circumstantial evidence is too strong. The trial is set to begin that very day. At the trial, Justine's calm demeanor gives way to horror as witness after witness builds a damning, though false, case against her. The court murmurs with indignation when the locket is produced. Elizabeth gives a powerful speech defending Justine's character, but it only turns the public against Justine further, charging her with the blackest ingratitude. The popular voice has already condemned her. Justine is condemned to death. To make matters worse, she confesses to the crime. Elizabeth and Victor visit her in prison, where she reveals she confessed a lie, coerced by her confessor who threatened hellfire. On the morrow, the innocent Justine is executed on the scaffold. Victor is consumed by guilt, knowing he is the true murderer of two beloved members of his family. All is blasted by his unhallowed arts. Racked by remorse, Victor shuns all society, finding his only consolation in deep, dark solitude. He wanders the shores of Lake Geneva at night, often tempted to plunge into the waters and end his suffering. Seeking to forget himself and his human sorrows, Victor travels to the valley of Chamonix, hoping the magnificent and eternal scenes of the Alps will grant him some measure of peace. He resolves to ascend to the summit of Montanvert, overlooking a vast sea of ice. The sublime and majestic in nature has always had the effect of solemnizing his mind, and he hopes it will work now. Amidst the terrifyingly desolate scene, as Victor stands on the glacier, He suddenly beholds the figure of the creature, advancing towards him with superhuman speed, bounding over crevices in the ice. Victor's sorrow turns to rage. He screams at the vile insect to be gone, but the creature calmly replies, "I expected this reception. All men hate the wretched. How then must I be hated?" The creature implores Victor to listen to his story, arguing that even the guilty are allowed to speak in their own defense. He promises that if Victor complies with his conditions, he will leave mankind in peace. Partly urged by curiosity and a dawning sense of a creator's duty, Victor agrees. He follows the creature across the sea of ice to a remote hut to hear his tale. The creature's story begins with his first moments of life, a strange multiplicity of confusing sensations of light, sound, and touch. He wandered from Ingolstadt into a forest, a poor, helpless, miserable wretch. He describes learning about the world through instinct, the warmth of fire, the taste of food, the songs of birds. But his first encounter with humanity is disastrous, as an old shepherd shrieks and flees from him in terror. He is again driven from a village by stones and curses, finally finding refuge in a small abandoned hovel attached to a cottage. Through a small chink he observes the family living within. He watches the family, a blind old man, de Lacy, and his two children, Felix and Agatha. He is captivated by their gentle manners, their music, and the love they show one another. The creature discovers the family suffers from poverty. Moved by their kindness to each other, he stops stealing their food and secretly helps them by gathering firewood for them at night. Over the winter he slowly learns their language, discovering the names for objects and, eventually, the names of the cottagers themselves. This godlike science fills him with delight. His growing knowledge is a double-edged sword. He learns of society, wealth, and family, which only highlights his own wretched state as a solitary outcast with no friends, no property, and a hideous form. One day, a beautiful woman in a dark suit arrives on horseback. Her name is Safi, the Arabian. She does not speak their language, and the creature realizes he can learn alongside her. Felix uses a book, Volney's Ruins of Empires, to teach Safi. Through these lessons, the creature gains a cursory knowledge of history, learning of man's magnificent virtues and his base, vicious cruelty. The creature learns the family's story. They were once affluent in Paris, but were ruined after Felix helped Safi's Turkish father escape an unjust death sentence. The treacherous Turk, upon learning of Felix's ruin, abandoned him and tried to force Safi to return to Constantinople. Safi, taught independence by her Christian Arab mother, refused and fled to find Felix. One night, the creature finds a portmanteau with books, Paradise Lost, Plutarch's Lives, and the Sorrows of Werther. These works give him an infinity of new images and feelings. He is most affected by Paradise Lost, seeing himself as both Adam, alone with no link to any other being, and as Satan, the fallen angel who is filled with envy at the bliss of others. He also finds Victor's journal from the months before his creation, detailing the disgust and horror his own creator felt for him. He learns the full story of his accursed origin and loathsome form. The creature resolves to reveal himself to the cottagers, hoping they will see past his deformity. He decides to approach the blind de Lacy first, while the others are away on a walk. He enters the cottage and speaks to the old man who cannot see him. De Lacy is kind, listening with sympathy as the creature describes himself as a friendless, unfortunate being, prejudiced against by those he loves. Just as he is about to reveal his identity, Felix, Safi, and Agatha return. At the sight of him, Agatha faints, Safi flees, and Felix, in a transport of fury, strikes him violently with a stick and drives him away. The creature's last link to the world is broken. His heart filled with feelings of rage and revenge, he returns to find the cottage deserted. He sets fire to the empty home and dances with fury around the flames. The creature's narrative concludes as he demands Victor create a female companion for him, as hideous as himself, so he will no longer be alone. He swears that with a mate, They will flee to South America and never be seen again. Victor at first refuses, but the creature's arguments and threats convince him. He consents on the creature's solemn oath to quit Europe forever. His task now is to create a female. To complete his work, Victor travels to England with Clerval. The journey is a torment. Company is irksome, and every thought of his promise is an anguish. He is a blasted tree. The bolt has entered his soul. Leaving Clerval with friends in Perth, Victor travels to a remote, desolate island in the Orkneys to begin his filthy work. The solitude and the squalidness of the place match the horror of his occupation. As he works on the female creature, Victor is plagued by doubt. He fears she might be more malignant than her mate, or that they might have children, propagating a race of devils upon the earth. Looking up, he sees the creature's ghastly face at the window, a grin of malice on his lips. Struck by the wickedness of his promise, Victor, trembling with passion, tears the female creature to pieces. The creature lets out a howl of devilish despair and revenge. He later confronts Victor, telling him, "You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey." He departs with a final chilling threat, "I shall be with you on your wedding night." Victor disposes of the remains of his work by casting them into the sea at night. He falls asleep in his boat and is blown far off course, eventually landing on the coast of Ireland. He is immediately met with suspicion by the locals and taken before a magistrate, Mr. Kerwin. He is accused of the murder of a gentleman who was found strangled on the beach the previous night. Victor is taken to see the body. He is met with a sight of unimaginable horror. The murdered man is his dearest friend, Henry Clerval. The shock sends him into strong convulsions and another nervous fever. After 2 months of delirium in a prison cell, Victor recovers to find his father by his side. A grand jury eventually rejects the bill against him, as he was proven to be on the Orkney Islands at the time of the murder. Now free, Victor is a shattered wreck, haunted by the images of his murdered friends. He receives a letter from Elizabeth, who fears he may love another, and frees him from any obligation to marry her. Victor resolves to marry Elizabeth, seeing the creature's threat as a sentence upon his own life. He believes a final deadly struggle will take place on his wedding night, and prepares for his own death. After the wedding, Victor and Elizabeth travel to an inn in Evian to spend the night. As a storm rolls in, Victor is watchful and anxious, his hand on a pistol, waiting for his enemy to appear. Fearing the combat will be too much for Elizabeth, he begs her to retire to their room. A short time later, he hears a shrill and dreadful scream. The whole truth of the threat rushes into his mind. He rushes into the room to find Elizabeth lifeless, thrown across the bed, the murderous mark of the fiend's grasp on her neck. Looking up, he sees the creature at the open window, jeering at his work. Victor fires his pistol, but the creature leaps away and plunges into the lake, escaping into the darkness. The last of Victor's hopes, the purest creature on earth, is gone. Victor returns to Geneva, but the news is too much for his father. Having lost his wife, his son, and now his beloved Elizabeth, Alphonse Frankenstein sinks under the weight of his grief and dies a few days later. Now utterly alone, Victor dedicates his life to a single purpose: revenge. He vows to pursue the demon who caused this misery until one of them perishes in mortal conflict. The chase begins. The creature leads Victor across the vast wilds of Tartary and Russia, leaving markers and taunts to guide his creator and instigate his fury, ever moving north toward the eternal ice. The pursuit leads them across the frozen Arctic Ocean. After weeks of enduring unimaginable hardship, Victor finally spots his foe, but just as he draws near, the sea ice shatters, separating them. Drifting on a small ice raft near death, Victor is rescued by Walton's ship. He concludes his tale, begging Walton that if he should die, the captain must take up his quest for vengeance and destroy the creature. The creature, that is also my victim. In his murder my crimes are consummated. O Frankenstein, generous and self-devoted being, what does it avail that I now ask thee to pardon me? I who irretrievably destroyed thee by destroying all thou lovest. If this story has moved you, consider subscribing to Watch the Book for more narrative journeys. Your support allows us to bring more classic literature to life. Thank you for watching.